So today let's do something different. Let's do mixed media art. I did this dog for a friend of mine because she has this special dog and I'll tell you more about him in the video. So let's go! So I grabbed some printed papers, newspaper and other collage papers, PVA glue diluted with water, an old paintbrush that I keep for dealing with glue so I don't ruin new ones, and a jar of water and a paper towel. My background paper is pretty thick, 300 GSM watercolor paper, which makes it easier to work with as it doesn't warp as much. To start collaging, I just squeeze the glue onto the page, spread it out with a brush and stick a piece of tear newsprint on it. I always go over the paper with glue again so it doesn't curl up while drying. The edges stay put and the surface is a bit more even that way. You can use Mod Podge or matte medium for this step, but for me the diluted PVA works just as well, so I use this. I tear the paper into smaller pieces and glue stripes here and there. This process is pretty intuitive and the only thing you might want to pay attention to is to put the same kind of paper in different places and to use different papers next to each other. That creates nice texture and gives it a little bit of contrast locally and unity to the whole piece. Here I'd like to mention that you can use anything that lays more or less flat in your collage. I also used some other papery things, as you will see. The brown paper circle is a cup from Ferrero Rocher chocolates that I got for my birthday. Chocolates don't last long in our household. And the perforated stripe is the edge of the watercolor paper from a spiral block that was left over and I dyed it with coffee. You can learn more about dyeing with coffee in another video of mine. I dyed fabric there, but it's pretty much the same with paper. Then I quickly sketched the dog in pencil and covered the background with watercolors. I just grabbed them without thinking and quickly remembered that watercolors don't sit well on top of PVA. So later I went back in with acrylics as well. The watercolors still tint the background, so if you want a softer look and don't care too much about the smudging, this could still be a nice technique. Next, I took a separate scrap piece of kids grade watercolor paper and sketched some of the simplest leaves that you can make. Very easy and quick. This will be for my collage in the final stage, but it makes sense to paint it beforehand so it dries well before cutting, and I had to wait for the background to dry anyway, so I like to do this kind of stuff in between. I know I could just use the hairdryer or heat gun, but I don't like its noise, so if I can avoid it, I do that. Then I grabbed my acrylic paints and wet palette. By the way, you can find a video on how to make one in the card and in the description if you'd like to make one yourself. It's super useful for painting with acrylics. I started painting my dog. Actually, it's not my dog, it's my friend's dog. He had bone cancer in his leg and the veterinarian advised the euthanasia, but she decided to try with the surgery anyway. They amputated his hind leg and he fully recovered. She posted how he was running uphill on the 4th day after the surgery. That's a will to live. So to celebrate that, I decided to paint this picture for her. I hope she'll like it. I'm not very proud of the end result, but I hope she'll see the intention behind it. In the background, I drew ovals that represent hula hoops because she's an avid hula hooper. I also toned the background green because I didn't want everything to be brown. In the bottom, I collaged those painted leaves and a couple of mushrooms that I first cut out from that scrap piece of paper you saw me painting on earlier. It's nice to have a variety of different shades and sizes of leaves. That makes it much easier to combine, rusty with my acrylic painting. I have never used it much except for painting on objects because I couldn't store the squeezed out paint. That really bothered me, even if I painted the leftover paint into my junk journal. The next time I go painting, I still have to mix the exact same shade again and use more paint, and I hated that. But the wet palette changed that, and now I think I'll get more into acrylics. They're super versatile and you can layer and layer till your heart content. You can fix mistakes with acrylics because you can paint light over dark and you can paint onto almost anything. So they're a really nice medium. I should give them a try. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. But as I said, I need more practice. In the end, I brought out my Pitt pen markers and added some lines for the fluff of his fur. I also used them to add some very gentle shading. So this is it. My first mixed media dog and probably the first mixed media page I did on my own. If you want to see my progress, I'd love to have some witnesses, so subscribe. I promise I will practice more, but sometimes it's nice to have a proof of where you started. You feel better when you compare yourself to your past self. Hope to see you next week. Bye bye!